Hi everyone, welcome. This is Overinspected episode 19. You might notice that we look a little bit different today.
How so?
We're in the same place IRL.
We've ascended from 2D to 3D.
Yeah, a whole new dimension.
I feel dimensified.
Dimensified?
This is my first time at the Overinspected headquarters.
The studio?
The studio,
Yeah, the studio.
These pads up here, I've never been able to touch these with my fingers.
I mean, I honestly have also not touched them with my fingers. They've been up here for like a week, and like we still.
It's pretty new.
Actually, no, it's been longer than a week, right?
It's been longer than it's been a few weeks.
Okay, anyway, shut up. We need to cue the intro.
Okay, no, that is the intro.
Yeah.
So we forgot to put in that we are the greatest speed-keeping podcast in the entire galaxy.
The galaxy.
You know what I mean?
We've upped it. I feel like every time it's like the best speed-keeping podcast in the world. Then like the best one I guess the world and the planet are the same. But like,
well, what about all the speedcubers? You know, on Mars or in different star systems? Now we're kind of taking a run for their money.
Well, the thing is, they don't have podcasts, so we're just saying that we're the best speed-keeping podcast, not that we're the best.
Yeah. Well, anyways, how should we do it for the new people who are watching our podcast? We should intro ourselves. We like do roll call.
Roll
call. Like we have a sheet of paper. It's like
Michael Tianfeng Chai.
Yes, I'm Michael. Hello.
I'm Manu. Hello, nice to meet you.
Hello, I am Carrie Huang. I wasn't sure if I was going to include my last name.
Well, I mean, who cares? Everyone knows who you are.
Kai Ming. Oh no, actually, my middle name's not supposed to be. It's fine. No, it's already known. Whatever.
You guys can tell we're probably rough around the edges because even when we're trying to talk to the cameras, I think in theory I should have looked at this one.
I think so. So I think China should be looking at this camera.
Oh,
yeah.
And
I should be looking at that one.
Yeah, and then this one is just like the general camera.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like an interview style where you want to be looking a little bit away from the camera so that you don't like do eye contact with the viewer.
I guess that makes sense. Yeah, you can like look to like either left or right or the thing.
Yeah, I think it's because they feel intimidated.
So what you're saying is that you've been doing that this whole time.
The reason I was watching that one is just because you can see actual.
Oh, so you're a narcissist. You just want to see yourself.
Not a narcissist, but more like to check up and make sure that like there aren't any glaring issues.
I mean, there's definitely going to be glaring issues,
okay.
But we could let future Manu deal with
Okay, yeah.
I mean,
I'll just go with that one.
Yeah, we've been like kind of like beating around the bush, but you know, at the end of the day, we are here, we are live. Well, not live, but we're in person doing this podcast because that was kind of like one of the goals that we wanted to accomplish when we started this pod.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's cool. You know, like I don't know. I think one of the big inspirations for this podcast was Trash Taste. And like the fact that like they just did everything live, they had like I feel like they had like the nice camaraderie, you know, they had like the studio and everything. It was just cool. I wanted it to be that way, and I think it's cool how like we've set up like a little miniature studio. You know, we've got all like the nonsense. You know, you can see the mosaic.
I was gonna mention the mosaic.
Yeah,
is that cool. The CubersLive logo?
Yeah, it is.
So
we modified it a little bit. So like you guys can look down and see, but like so we swapped all of the whites with blue instead, and then we also like swapped some of the colors out because it didn't make sense to put yellow next to the yellow for the trophy.
Yeah, because you only have 6 colors to choose from.
Yeah. Basically, the problem was that like the logo itself has like 8 colors, and we only have 6 colors. So we need to do some swapping.
And Michael, you should take one of the cubes off just to show people that it's.
Oh yeah.
It's like customizable.
So this is actually a cube mosaic like pack that GAN started selling. We bought this from our general cube store, but they're like little mini, 3x3s, right? And then they operate just like any other speed cube, but you can manipulate it, and then there's like little pegs that you can stick the cube right on, and it just is great. How long did it take us? It didn't take that long.
It did not take that long. I think we're lucky because this pattern is like pretty simple. It's like
most of it.
Yeah, a lot of it is just solid, right? So those are pretty easy. You can just like rotate the cube. But even the ones that are like, even like the more finer ones are actually not that hard to do because they're like kind of just like two-tone for the most part.
I'm trying to find any cube that would have 3. Maybe the ones around the handle.
Yeah. I think the ones around the handle.
It's a little bit hard to find one.
Yeah.
Oh, this one is, for example. Yeah. But you can think it's also kind of hard to take out the metal pieces. So I thought GAN did a really considerate They were really considerate of the people who had to take it out from the center. So they had like a little tool.
Yeah.
Oh, I see it. What if you just had the back with like holes you could poke through? Maybe that would.
Yeah, but I guess like usually you're gonna do like flat.
Flat,
right?
yeah.
So it's like so like you would not be able to poke it. But they have like this cool tool that like you can like stab the cubes and like it like lifts them up.
Oh my god, poor cubes. They didn't deserve that.
I mean, it's fine. They're not alive anyway. Right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and then obviously we're not really talking too much about like speed cubing right now, but I just think we're just general cube enthusiasts, but just general cool people. And that's why we think we can do this pod for a long time.
I don't know about cool people, but we
I
are
think
people.
we're
We are interesting people.
Do you consider us
Yeah.
degens?
Yeah.
Degens with pride. Like as
Yeah.
long as you take it in stride, then it's not a problem to be a degen.
I guess so.
I'm not sure if I'm saying something I'll regret, but
I think you're gonna regret this.
okay.
I mean,
No, I'm a gen, like not
you're
degen.
Gen. Okay.
You're Gen.
You're just a
Gen.
Gen.
I'm
You're
a
just a
gener.
degenerate.
What does it mean to be a generate?
So Gen X. There's a Gen Y. Is there a Gen Y?
Gen Y is millennial.
That's what I thought. So Gen
okay.
X because Y2K, right?
No,
I
that's
don't know
not
if it's
why.
related at
The
all.
Y2K is because it's the year 2000. That's why it's Y2K.
Okay.
I actually didn't know what Y2K was for the longest time. I thought it was like a
Year 2K.
I thought it was like a boy band or something, but it turns out it was like everyone was scared that like the computers were going to like roll over or something.
And as you said that, your computer turned off.
Oh no, the
No.
Skynet is listening. But like I think it was like something where like because the year was gonna or the millennium was gonna roll over, people were scared that it was going to like destroy like electronics or whatever. So people thought it was gonna be a disaster. But obviously there was no disaster because that's like one of the dumbest things I think that they could have thought of.
Yeah. I mean, I did see a documentary about it, and I heard that the U.S. government spent like billions of dollars on software engineers to like debug systems, because like the issue was if the year was stored as a 2-digit number on a computer and it rolled from 99 to 00, then if you try to calculate things such as the time gap between like now and like yesterday, it'll say 99 years. And that could be a problem if you're like calculating interest on your bank account, or if you're trying to figure out how your plane should fly.
Okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
But then why store it as a 2-digit number? Like, isn't it obvious that like, you know, eventually like, I guess people back then were also just like, when this stuff was made, like during the Cold War, people did not know if they were going to survive the next year. So I guess that's one reasonable reason.
Interesting.
But yeah, that's where Y2K comes from.
Okay. Well, like, yeah, you could do Gen X, Millennial, Gen Z, and then Degenerates.
Oh. I mean, I think
or Degeneration X. The Degen X's.
Degen X?
I mean, I think people of any age can be a degenerate, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
We're not gonna gatekeep. You have to be under 30 to be a degenerate.
I don't know if this is spoiling anything. I don't think so, but I think we've been pretty open about one of our next goals is to also make this exact thing, but live.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Like I think that would be totally awesome to have a chat if you guys want to ask us any questions, stuff like that. But also just kind of challenge yourselves a little bit. I think doing a podcast live is challenging.
Yeah, because if you mess up, it's already out on the internet.
But it's not like we cut anything out of these anyway. Do you only
that's true. Yeah,
I've only bleeped like once. That's it. There's only been one.
We should have a bleep. We should have a we should have a bleep delay. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like
well, I see. On YouTube, the minimum delay is 5 seconds. So
oh really?
I don't think there's a way to even edit it like after you've let it out, but there is a delay.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've heard that like I've heard that Twitch purposely puts delays on so that like people don't stream snipe as much.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, if you're gonna go like and stream snipe in person, wouldn't a 5-second delay not hinder you at all?
What do you mean?
Like if let's say a streamer is like walking the streets of Hollywood.
They're
gonna be on the same street 5 seconds later.
They did not design this for IRL.
Oh, okay.
They only designed it for literal games,
like millisecond differences and stuff like that.
Yeah, like if I'm playing League, right? I don't know why the hell I would be playing League, but if I'm playing League and you know I'm just like kicking some guy's ass, and then like you know they get like really angry or whatever, and they can like if they can use me to like get extra vision or whatever. If you're also wondering why like we sound kind of weirder if you're listening on like audio only. Also, if you're listening on audio only, thanks for listening, I guess. But like, I think you're missing out on this one.
I think
the whole point of watching this one is to see us in the flesh.
Yeah.
See the couch.
See that,
see the blanket.
we exist.
Oh yeah,
We
I was gonna do like
are-
the touch. Okay, this sounds weird, but like the test to make sure that's not a green screen.
Yeah,
is,
yeah,
like, you
yeah.
interact
We
with each
are
other.
we are real.
We are
Even-
3-dimensional objects.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, thanks for listening on all the other platforms. I think Spotify is like the biggest platform that people listen on.
Oh really?
Yeah, I was like going through the analytics just because I wanted to see. I feel like the analytics are kind of trash. They don't really tell you that much. But it was like, yeah, most downloads are on Spotify. And I think the next most is Google Podcasts, which I guess makes sense.
Is there
Wait,
a
is this in
place?
comparison to YouTube? Are you talking
No.
about downloads or listens?
I think it's downloads. It doesn't tell you how many listens it has.
I mean, it's probably pretty similar.
I think it's because we do everything through Red Circle. I think Red Circle, for some reason, is reporting downloads. But maybe if you went to like the specific, like if I went to Google, right, and said like, "Hey Google, tell me how many listens I have," maybe it would tell me how many listens.
Yeah, I feel like what would be really helpful, and I'm sure Google could do this, is that it would tell you how far people listen, because it could be the case that like 100 people download, but then like no one watches past the first minute or something.
Right. Yeah.
And then you could also see, as you're talking, what things do I say that like causes the drop off?
Right. And it's the same thing because on YouTube they have this as well, right? Like,
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
see like audience retention.
Audience retention.
Yeah. We were looking at one of the audience retention things. It was, you know what it was related to?
The Mega
It
Minx.
was related to the stupid Megaminx
The
tutorial.
Megaminx tutorial.
Dude, the Megaminx.
Has it pulled its lead in the last week?
So I think in the last 48 hours, when I checked like a day or two ago, it was tied with the most recent podcast episode. They were both at 28.
Okay. I'm not
Oh,
surprised. Like,
Actually, I figured out something too. Like when we, at the very end of the YouTube videos, because I've been rewatching some of the pods, it'll
Yeah.
recommend the highest viewed video.
Oh yeah, so I have that set to. I think I have it set to best for viewer.
that's like an algorithmic.
Yeah,
Did you change it from the beginning to most recently? Because it's been showing up as Megaminx tutorial.
And you don't want
It's
it
not
to.
necessarily.
I mean, you could
it's
force
a-
it to only link the next podcast episode, but YouTube thinks that the
Oh, really?
Megaminx tutorial will keep the viewer for long.
I definitely have a question though. I find in terms of like confusion, I think Clock and Megaminx are like in terms of notation could be as you could say they have
Okay,
similar
sure.
confusion
Yeah.
Sure.
Like-
possibilities.
Yeah.
Kind of the base level cubers, like what is going on.
The Clock tutorial is nothing in comparison to the Megaminx tutorial.
I didn't
And
know
they
there was
were
a clock.
released-
Wait.
Yeah, we have a
Exactly.
clock one too.
And
Oh.
they were released back to back.
Oh
so-
wait. So it's like almost like
Yeah.
A/B testing. The
Yeah, I
same
guess,
day,
yeah.
same audience.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. But I mean,
I think it makes sense though because like the number of people who own a clock at this juncture, I feel like is much lower than the people who own like a Megaminx. I feel like Megaminx is
guess.
also just easier to get.
Megaminx
Well,
is
that's
more
true.
expensive though.
no, it's
right?
cheaper.
It's cheaper.
Yoo-Hoo is $13.
Oh.
Guys, the YJ Yoo-Hoo V2 is $13.
Well, what about this one?
Okay, this one is like $60.
Okay,
probably.
I can't believe I'm flexing in front of a speedcubing audience.
I gave this one away. It just wasn't. It's not good.
Yeah, you had one, right?
Yeah, I gave it
It's
away.
really light.
Yeah, I think I bought one because you had one, and
Oh.
I like tried it, and I was like, oh, it's really good.
Oh,
I don't remember if that's what
listen to me,
happened.
guys.
That was
But, like-
also probably tried from like years ago.
Yeah,
probably.
but
didn't-
I like
did
it.
not
I like it. It's very.
Wait, this is
Oh, right, yeah. Okay.
This is a total tangent. Do you think 2 years ago was many years ago?
No, but I.
Let me think about it definitionally. So last year is 1 year,
Yeah.
or 1 year ago. I think single year, like that's just definitional. Like that's something.
Okay.
A couple years ago is not a few. I think a couple years ago is exactly 2. And
Okay,
there
I
is
can buy
there is
Couple years
nothing
ago.
else. So here's what I'm thinking. Because a couple years ago, and I think a few years ago is actually more than a couple years ago.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Definitionally. I don't think a few
Okay,
years
I
ago
can
can
see.
be a couple.
So it
Definitely.
has to be at least. Well,
3 or more.
what
So
about
I
like 2.5? Like if it was December 2019, that's a few years ago.
Yeah, I mean, this is assuming that you don't want to use the numerical version of it, like 3 years ago. 4
Yeah.
years ago. I would say a few years ago is anything past a couple, so 3 or more.
Okay, wait.
I think. Oh,
I think. Okay, wait. So, but what about many years? We have not discussed many
Many.
years. We've come up with, like a year,
Yeah.
couple, few. What about many? Do you think many years could be 2
wait.
years?
Okay, I have a hypothesis that many years ago is relative to the speaker's lifespan, because like a 10-year-old will
yeah,
say
sure.
many years ago to something happened like 2 years ago.
Okay.
But like if we're in our 20s, then something has to be like 10 years ago before it's many years ago.
Okay, fine. So maybe many years ago is not 2. But what about many years ago but it's context dependent. In other words, like many years ago for us right now is like 2020 because 2020 felt like it was so long ago.
I don't know. 2020 doesn't feel that long ago.
What the? What
do
do
you
you
mean?
really?
No. I mean,
Dude, 2020 was so long ago.
well, I feel like there's a big cultural change, in March 2020. But if something happened in like May 2020, it was in the pandemic, and if something happened now, it's also in the pandemic.
No, dude, I don't.
Oh, okay. So
Wait, you don't subscribe to like the 2020 till now felt like 1 year type feeling?
I feel like
you think more time passed than.
I think a lot of time has passed. Like it feels like a lot of time has passed, even though like only 2 years have passed. The reason is because I was thinking about it was the Berkeley Comp.
Does feel like a long time ago.
Wait, the Berkeley Comp feels like a long time ago.
Oh, no, you're
that was
talking
like
about
a month ago.
Oh, no, I thought you were talking about PBQ. That was like the last one before the.
Oh yeah, that was a long time.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking about. So I was at the Berkeley Comp. That was like a month ago.
Okay.
And there were people there at that comp that I hadn't seen since 2020, since
Who were,
like early 2020. They were my friends in college, right?
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I haven't seen these guys in many years. To which like other people were like, oh, many years is not like you can't use many years. Like it's only been 2 years. How can you say many years?
I don't think you can say many years. I think that last year, so many years doesn't apply to last year, right?
Oh,
But what if you double that? So does doubling the 1 year mean that it's automatically?
I don't know. It just feels like it was like many years. That's what I'm trying to say.
I haven't seen you in a long time. I'm trying to think of like how the best way to say it. I haven't seen you in many years. Because I know what you mean. So like for example, and I guess we should keep anonymity, but there's a couple like kids, I mean we probably mentioned this in previous pods, that have grown up and they're actually like midway through college throughout this entire pandemic. Because it's been
many years.
2.5. Well, like I'm using a precise. It's probably been about 2.5 years.
Yeah.
More or less.
I mean, it's closer to 2 years, but
closer to 2 years. It started in March. Yeah, so I guess 2 years on the dot. And they're like midway through college, right? And then I can totally like, dang, I haven't seen you in a long time. Yeah, that's crazy that you're almost.
And it feels like it. I don't know. It feels like it's been many years, is what I'm saying.
It feels like it's been many years.
So in that case, it's appropriate to say many years. You think? In this pandemic context.
Yes, because it feels like more than what it was.
Okay.
Which what it was 2 years ago. That also means that because that works definitionally, it also means that it has to be more than 2 years for many years.
All I needed to hear was you say yes, because then I'm just gonna cut all the other stuff out, and I'm just gonna say is many years 2 years, and you're just gonna say yes. So.
I thought you don't edit these though.
I mean, this one I need to edit
because
I have a point to make.
I have an agenda. You gotta keep everything in just to show the process.
No, yeah.
And,
I'll keep it in.
Well,
I think it's an interesting discussion. So.
I think it's interesting too because this turns into like, wouldn't it also turn into a logic puzzle the way that we break it down?
Yeah, I mean, but then it always comes back to like the fact that like language is not like concrete and precise, and it turns like the nonsense about like if the barber shaves all the people in the town who don't shave themselves, then who shaves the barber? Like it's like
I think that is an actual like that's a puzzle you could describe with like formal logic symbols.
Yes, you can.
But then this thing with like many years is more of a feeling of like a semantic.
Yeah,
what do humans interpret?
Yeah.
And a computer couldn't answer what many years actually is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you'd have to hard code that in somewhere.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, and like maybe as time goes on, people's perception of the word many will change.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe many years is not going to be many years, and maybe many years will be like.
Let's just say 2 years, okay?
Okay, well, that works. That works for me. 2 years.
Yeah.
Many years is 2 years.
I think one reason people will say many years is because they don't remember exactly how many years.
Yeah.
And if it's like a fuzzy area between like 3 and 10, then they'll just say many years.
I can believe that. Yeah.
Ago.
Whereas like I feel like a few years is less than like 5 years.
A few years ago. Well, my parents will say like, oh, we went to China a few years ago, and then I'll say that was 20 years ago. I mean, like
that's a big difference.
I think it just makes sense though, because it's like, for them, I guess since they're older, it just time is like feels like it's passing.
Yeah, you ever hear that theory that's like a year when you're 80 is like 10 times as short when you're 8?
Yeah. I mean, this is a topic that I think many other people have run into the ground like
Yeah,
just
yeah.
trying to analyze and
More than
explain.
2 people.
Oh,
Okay. I can say more than a dozen people, like YouTubers, blog
Yeah,
writers,
definitely.
scientists, psychologists have all tried to figure out like why
More
it's time
than
to go
2
faster.
people. Okay, anyway, I think this was supposed to be a tangent, and then it ended up becoming an entire topic.
Okay,
so,
we can get back to speed cubing.
I
What
mean,
were
when
we
you
talking
implement chapters, it's just gonna, be
Yeah,
a
it's
little,
fine.
be a little
You can
piece.
skip up to this point because now we're going to talk about something else.
I'm going to talk about. You're supposed to say a topic to interrupt.
So, I mean, when we started today, we didn't really know what we wanted to talk about truthfully because we're also like unsure about all of our hardware and everything syncing up, and our audio obviously isn't perfect.
Yeah.
So, for us, rather than not putting out anything at all, I think we just are okay with just putting out something and just improving each time we do it.
Definitely.
Right?
This will be kind of a snapshot of how we did our first real life podcast, and 10 real life podcasts from now, we'll have more of an idea of like how to do it correctly.
Yeah.
Do you think we should tell them the ideas that we have for this live setting, or should we keep it a secret?
Let's keep it a secret.
Let's keep it a secret.
But I do want to know, if you're listening, what you think about like the audio, because the audio is definitely very different, because we are now like recording audio centrally, right? Rather than like each of our own audio files, which will make it a hell of a lot easier for me. But like, I mean, there'll be like weird echoes and stuff. That's why we have the foam up. There's like the lighting issues, which is going to be interesting. So we're curious what you think on that. Although I think we did the lighting pretty well. Like I can see the lighting through the DSLR, and I think it looks pretty good.
It's kind of like on the dark side.
Yeah, that's the one thing I don't like, right? Like, so we tried to like mess around with like the lighting, particularly like here versus here.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it like separates itself.
It's all right. I think it's
okay.
It adds contrast.
Okay, so yeah, maybe that's fine.
But that's like the learning curve, right? So that's also why we're not taking this. I don't think we're taking this episode like super serious or like a nitty gritty topic. I think it was just us kind of like showing our progress of how far we've made it in Overinspected.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of cool that like we are even at this point, right? Because I think when we first thought of the idea, right, Chai, like we had like 10 episodes lined up, and we're like, if we get this far, like we like made it, like
for sure,
like this like like this is gonna stick on for a while. So like now we're like nearing episode 20, to the fact like we have like a studio, maybe not, maybe an air quote studio, but still like there's like a studio feel to it, I would say. And I don't know, it's just kind of cool to see that like we started the podcast. I think but when we probably go and look back at the old episodes of the podcast, we're probably gonna be like, these like kind of suck, or like like these are like not as good as they are now, which I think is really cool.
Well, what I think is interesting, I don't know if this is supposed to be a secret, but
spill all.
Okay. I think 3 years. I'll put the number on it. 3 years ago, Michael and I tried to record a podcast, and then I don't know why. I think we decided not to ever upload it.
Oh, you know what? I think. No, continue.
But I just think that if we look at episode 1 of Overinspected and think that is crappy, we could go like way earlier and be like maybe someday when Overinspected is the biggest podcast in the world. No, I shouldn't.
I mean, it already is, but
yeah, okay, it already is. We can like watch that and like react and be like, oh, we were so different and younger back then.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, as I think we mentioned, like, well, we were talking about this earlier, but like the end goal for us is to have like a corpus or a what did I call it? An anthology, right? Like to the point where like you can have like 69 episodes or whatever, right?
Nice.
And like you can just like go through it, and it's just like, wow, like these guys like dedicated like I don't
69.
know, like months of their time, at least 69 hours of their life, right? To like put all of this together and then upload it to YouTube. I don't know. I think it's cool.
When you and I tried it at first, Carrie, I think the biggest issue was there was no structure. And even though, I mean, guys, don't get me wrong, Overinspected is not structured at all.
Yeah.
But when I mean no structure, I don't think you and I had a vision of what the podcast was meant to be, the content that it had, and I don't think it was super fleshed out. If you reflect on like what we talked about, I think we just introed ourselves, and like I think we probably even talked about where we were born and stuff. Like just
I think to make the podcast work, we had to have an idea of like, okay, this episode is going to be about I don't know, regulations, and this one will be about the competition nerves, and that way we like stay on structure.
But it was like a learning experience, right? And I think we took that learning experience. We added Manu to help us, like,
Yeah,
you
Manu
know,
was a special sauce.
It gave us, it gave us like more perspective, and at the end of the day, we used what didn't work to make it work.
Yeah.
So that's, and I know like YouTube is all about like putting out the best content ever, stuff like that. But I mean, at the end of the day, that incentivizes me to put something out to see what we can do to improve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a good mindset to like just put something out and see how it will like improve, because that way like at least something is there, right? There's something to get feedback on. Whereas like, because in my head when I was thinking about, okay, you know, I'm gonna upload the piano video or whatever, right? The one where I make the Lego piano that's sitting over there.
Can you guys see it? I think you guys can. I think you guys can see it
there.
there.
Yeah, I think you can see it here. I don't know. You probably can't see it on the DSLR, but you can
And
see
you
it
can definitely
here.
not see it on that one.
Yeah, no shot. You can see it on that.
That would be insane.
What if we had like a mirror?
But
Hold a mirror.
so I was thinking about, you know, I'll make a video. You know, I'll just like time lapse it. I'll throw in some funny bits. But then I just kept thinking like, okay, but I think I can make it better. And then to this day, this video is still not done.
And that happens to me all the time. It's like, if you just keep trying to improve a video, it just never sees the light of day.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like, it's to the point where like even this, like I'm still stuck on the storyboard because I'm like, okay, like what am I gonna put here? I think it could be funnier if I do this edit or whatever. And like the Breath of the Wild podcast, or not podcast, the Breath of the Wild 100%. That one is never gonna get done. I think.
Oh, you wanted to upload a video about it?
Yeah, because I think it's cool, right? Because I was like the 30th person in the world to do it, and I was like, well,
No, I think it was cool. You also put in a lot of effort to do it.
Yeah, it took a lot of time.
You did live stream it, right?
Yeah.
So you could. So all that footage is there.
All that footage is up.
Yeah. So you could like find an editor and just throw all of the content at the editor, and the editor will whittle it down.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
But then I guess you don't have any creative control.
Also, I'm too stingy to do that. I would just do it myself.
Okay, that's true. I think you like when you hire an editor, you're giving away a lot of like the creative vision.
Yeah. That's definitely true.
And sometimes you get something back that is not at all what you imagined.
Yeah, what I hear is that like sometimes, and you probably know more about this, but like if you have like an editor, right? Like sometimes you'll give something to the editor, right? The editor will come up with something, and then when you get it back, it's just like very, very different than what you... Okay, yeah, so we're back now. Sorry, I think the last conversation got cut short. We'll get back to it. But basically, this is something that we did not realize, but the DSLR, which I'll put on screen right now, that DSLR has a recording time limit apparently that we did not know about.
Yeah, I didn't know that either, to be honest.
So
like how I
we're
didn't know
learning.
that.
We're learning.
Cubing competitions, you have solved time limits. I didn't know in
Yeah.
2015.
Yeah, exactly. Except now it's 2022, and this is our hardware, and we have no idea. But in any case, we're back. What were we talking about before?
Improving.
Oh no! I was talking about the editor.
Yeah,
thing.
the editor.
And then I got distracted. No, what I meant to say is that like some people will only hire editors after like the editors have been like watching their channel for a while.
Oh, so they know.
Yeah. So they know the like the style, they know the humor and stuff. Because I feel like Ludwig's videos, like whenever he does the edits, and then whenever his editors do the edits, they feel extremely similar.
Okay, yeah.
So like it's like I guess like a familiarity with like your editing material, I guess.
Actually, yeah, that reminds me of Jaden Animations as well, because she does animations. So for her team, it's even more important that they keep the same style.
Right. That
so that when it like switches from her section to like her animator section, you don't feel a jarring switch.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that stuff probably that takes time, I guess, to build.
Yeah.
Whereas like if you just like throw it to the editor like immediately, the editor will just have like their style.
Yeah, I mean,
like it'll be very different.
But like, if it's just like a video that you want out there, and you're like, oh, it'll never come out if I just wait for myself, then maybe it's better than nothing.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, and that I think that's something where like I don't like putting out something that is like not good. You know? But it's good. I think at the end of the day, even if it's not perfect, it's actually fun to look back on it.
Yeah.
You guys know Patricia Taxon?
The songwriter,
yeah.
The EOW song.
So you know Sonic Soul, right?
Yeah.
So there's
is she the musician?
One of the music. Like do you know it's like it's called Wavetable. It goes like dun 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 dun. Yeah, that one. No. So she wrote that one. Apparently, and I heard this from Ed actually at the Rexman. He said that apparently like her philosophy is that she will do like when she like sits down to do a song, she'll get it to like 90%, and then she'll just release the song. Like she doesn't do like the final 10% of polishing because that takes as much time as the 90% of getting like the first bit up and running.
I mean, I agree with that statement that the final 10% takes as long as the rest, or even longer. Mm-hmm. But the issue and the difference with me is that when I get to that point, I just have this perfectionist attitude.
Right, yeah.
I'm so close, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make all these nitpicky edits.
Yeah. So apparently like her philosophy is like, if at that point, if you get to 90%, and then like you release it, it'll either be like good because it like the quality is actually good, or it'll be bad because the quality is actually bad.
Yeah,
as opposed to like the bells and whistles.
Yeah, and if it's bad, you don't want to waste the extra
week
on it.
Yeah, it'll just be bad no matter what you do. That's her philosophy.
It's like it's not a perfect comparison, but when you guys talk about that, it makes me think about music recordings in the past and playing live music versus playing produced music, electronic music. There is like beauty in having scars and imperfections, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, especially when you listen to like live jazz music, one of the most interesting components about live music is how good these guys are staying on beat. But if you go to your average professional musician, actually when they're recording, they're off beat like all the time. It's like a minor imperfection that only people who can perfectly listen to everything can hear. Just like perfect pitch.
Interesting.
Right. And then, but everything. And the only reason that people can tell is because everything these days is produced and everything is 100% accurate on the beat. Because everything can be fixed to that. You can even live instrumental recordings can be adjusted to that. Which is like insane.
That's actually kind of crazy.
Yeah. There's like a quick fix too. You can like take the sound wave and you can cut out part of that sound wave and then split it out farther or inside a little bit more to get that wave on beat with what you're looking for. Just and little things like that. But my dad always hated modern music because it sounded too perfect.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, the fact that live concerts are still so popular is a sign that people sometimes don't want the 100% clean, perfected piece.
Right, yeah.
I mean, what have you ever heard an acoustic guitarist have a completely clean, non-metallic sound? It's always a little bit of that slap and that ring. It's part of it.
This reminds me of a concept that I'm probably going to get this wrong, but there's like this concept, I think it's called wabi-sabi. It's like perfection in the imperfection. So like one of the things that I think like, one of the things I heard like was like an example of this is that like, there's like, you take like a little like a dish or whatever, like a small dish that you put like soy sauce in or whatever. Then you take this dish, right? It has like cracks or holes in it or whatever. You fill those in with like a different material so that like it's extremely visible. I think they would do it with like gold. Or like they would fill it in with clay or something and then they would like paint it gold or something.
Yeah.
And then that in and of itself, because it has like those imperfections, like is more beautiful than the original object itself.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me of like the Jackson Pollock paintings for whatever reason. Just like this.
I have some thoughts on those. So,
what do you think about?
I think they're weird. So,
I mean, they are, but it's just like.
Well, I think that the difference is that like the pot that has cracks that's filled with gold is still in essence a pot that can have form and usage and utility. Whereas the Jackson Pollock paintings, by their nature, are like supposed to be as chaotic as possible.
Yeah,
I guess so.
I think it's like I like reading into things. So like I like it when like books like leave like there's like interpretation, right, where you can read between the lines to try and figure out what happened. But like, and I like that with like paintings too. But like I don't really like the Jackson Pollock ones because I feel like there's no substance there to begin with. Like you can try and convince me that like, oh yeah, like the presence of like this color in this particular place is like his. I don't know, like his brooding depression or whatever, and like I would be like, okay, maybe, yeah, I guess,
but random chance.
Yeah. There's like the meme. It's like, oh, like why did the author have the curtains be blue? Oh, it's the sign of his depression. It's like, no, I'm pretty sure the curtains were just blue because they're just blue curtains.
Friggin' blue.
Yeah,
literally blue curtains right here.
Yeah, this is actually there's actually a sign. This is a subliminal message. I don't know what else blue signifies.
Man.
Sadness.
This reminded me of two things, so I'm going to kind of talk about the art too. I think that, do you guys think symmetry is part of nature?
Yes.
So symmetry is an inherent part of nature?
Yes.
And it just made me, I'm not saying that I think Jackson Pollock paintings are great, but it's very interesting of the asymmetrical aspect of them because it's just complete chaos. because he just splatters
Yeah.
everything on there.
Yeah.
So I wonder if you could make an argument that it triggers an emotional component because it's a very human element of a non-human nature. Because
That's interesting.
art is meant to be symmetrical. Symmetry is meant to be beautiful. And then asymmetry and chaos is a human emotion that can only be done by human.
That's okay. Well, first of all, that isn't true. But
I don't know, but it's just something that makes you think about it.
have you ever seen double pendulums?
No.
The double pendulum is like inherently chaotic. It's like the physics term of chaotic.
Double pendulum.
So basically,
So
like
two pendulums.
so you have a pendulum and then like at the bottom of this pendulum you attach another pendulum.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah,
because
it's
it always
physics
goes
now.
in a different.
Yeah,
It always goes in
and
a
the
different
meaning of chaos in physics is like if you have like two states that start off in like similar, like extremely like epsilon close like positions, depending on however you want to define closeness, like they're like the if you track those differences over time, those differences tend to grow exponentially.
Do you find that beautiful?
Not really.
I don't know.
Oh.
I'm just saying. I feel like
it's
maybe people would possibly make it. Like maybe there are enthusiasts about the double pendulum.
Oh, no, I think it's beautiful. I mean, like, I've seen the videos where they'll put glow-in-the-dark lights on the pendulums,
right,
and then
So
they'll
they
have a
trace the
long
paths.
exposure so
Oh,
you can
that's
see
cool.
the paths. And I think those are beautiful. But I mean, those videos have also like beautified it by having
Yeah,
classical
definitely.
music in the background. And classical music is
sure.
very
Definitely.
formulaic.
Sure.
I think that there are like these other things called like attractors, which is like a different type of thing in chaos theory, where like it's more like stable systems. So like if you have like two positions that are similar in phase space, they will like follow similar paths. So there's like these things like the butterfly attractor and stuff like that, where you have like all these points in phase space, and then you evolve them over time, and they like make like patterns. I think that stuff is beautiful. I guess it's more stable. So.
I guess speaking on an imperfection about myself, and this is kind of the other thing that I was just gonna like talk about when I'm listening to the podcast back, because I want to hear how I sound, and I do this from time to time. I wish, and I'm going to try. It's not completely done yet, but I always have these filler words that come out of my mouth.
Oh,
I hate it. I hate it to a core. I always say like. I always say It's just
you know is another one.
just.
I mean, yeah. It's just. I mean, even I mean.
Basically is another one.
Yeah.
I wish I could just be more cohesive.
It's not. I don't know if it is more cohesive. It feels like it's not. It doesn't feel like it's like less cohesive. It just maybe it is less cohesive because like if you're just filling the space with just filler words, then I can see it's like a full stop. But if anything, it kind of feels more natural speech.
It's just a nitpicky thing about myself that I'm like that I notice now when I listen to it.
Right. Yeah.
I saw this essay online that was saying that for decades people have been shaming other people for saying too many filler words, but actually they have a use because it's a sign that the speaker still has more to say but hasn't thought of it yet. So the other person, like it gives the other person time to butt in. Whereas if you were to just keep talking, they would never know when to butt in.
Okay, that's interesting.
I would buy that.
Yeah, I think
that's
that
actually cool.
it sounds similar to like there was this one thing that we learned in Japanese class. Apparently, in Japanese, people tend to use this thing called aizuchi more, which is like it's like interjection, if you will, but like basically like if you watch like Japanese media or whatever, if you watch like a drama, for example, then you'll hear people will say like or like they'll basically like acknowledge that they're listening like very often while the speaker is speaking, and even though they know that the speaker is going to continue speaking, they'll be like
It's like hi,
like things like that, like that stuff like happens much more commonly in Japanese as opposed to some other languages.
right?
Because supposedly it's just like a thing. It's just like okay, like yes,
Wow.
like I'm listening.
I think I just did that when I said right because that wasn't
Right,
any
yeah,
particular
yeah,
conversation.
exactly.
But then it's just like I'm still listening and I
Right,
haven't
yeah.
like tuned you out entirely.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm actually gonna if I just stop talking to you, then you're gonna be what's going on?
Yeah,
Did I
exactly.
offend him?
Because if you talk to someone, right, you're like, let's say like you're lecturing to someone, right? Well, I guess you're lecturing to someone. That's a different deal. But like you're like talking to like someone, right? And you're talking
Yeah.
about this long story, and they just like no reaction. It's just like, are you even listening? Like,
Yeah. Oh, I did this really mean thing to my dad. Like, he was like telling me a story that I was really bored with. So I just started saying like after every sentence to see how long it would take. Oh, this is something I can't believe I'm admitting this.
No.
But I counted like 29.
you were counting too.
Because I was like
distracted.
I know. I was like trying to like guess how many is it gonna. Oh, that sounds so mean.
That's a little mean.
Yeah, I know.
No, you were literally more bored with the story than counting how many mm-hms you could put into like the sentence before you noticed.
I mean, yeah. I haven't done it again. It was only a one-time thing.
You were just toying with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like with a parent, like you've talked with them so many times. It's like just once. I want to see how long I can go without ever actually
you want to
responding.
Spice it up,
It was like collecting data. Kind of understanding more about
collecting data. That's what you think your dad is?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you gotta know the numbers.
Well,
okay, yeah, it's kind of
I don't
strange.
know. I think it's kind of odd. But...
Yeah. Well, I guess we're probably nearing the end of the pod. I would say like closer to the end than not. But I guess I would be remiss to mention that of the day.
No, you would be remiss not to mention.
We'd be remiss not to mention that of this recording, the time that we're recording it, that we're about to do a live stream for a competition, right? Yeah. And then I think that's going to be cool. It's going to be on this channel. By the time you guys watch it, it's already been there. But you guys can check it out. We're probably going to have it as a playlist, like past live stream, something like that.
Yeah.
Somewhere where it's organized. But I just think it would be really cool for, what would you call it, the anthology of CubersLive, to just have this organization of like live stream content, definitely. Podcast, actual content. I don't know what we could start doing behind the scenes at some point. I mean,
cool. Behind the sciness, I think will be cool. One other thing is that we already have a lot of video. Like, I don't know how many people who listen or watch the podcast know, but we have a lot of past videos that are not just Megaminx tutorial, but they're also like we have highlights from when we did Twisty Puzzle Cup many years ago. And when we also did FTO Melee, which I think were really, really interesting matches. To it was really fun to commentate them. It was really fun to watch all the people participate, because FTO is FTO is such a cool niche community. It was cool to see them all get hyped up for this thing that doesn't really happen that often.
There's the FTO right now.
Oh yeah, you can probably.
There is an FTO right now. I mean, you guys probably can't see it, but we're always talking about FTO. I mean, at some point, I'm pretty confident that at some point this event's going to be added to the WCA.
Yes,
more likely than not.
Yeah, but in any case, we have all the FTO Melee videos, which I just recently actually put into the playlist. So
cool.
Yeah, so you can check all those out. Those are, I think they're chronological order if you want to check those out.
I've watched this multiple times, but my favorite video thus far has been Max Xiao versus Matty.
That's a great one.
4x4, the commentary was so good. The actual content, the cubing, was so good.
Yeah.
Dude, Max.
I have to watch that. I actually haven't seen that one.
Yeah, so you forget about making cool. In one of the podcast episodes, the most watched review. Go watch that video.
That one deserves to be most watched.
That one deserves to be most watched because it is the best content.
If you think it's the best content, you can make it the video that auto plays when people go to your channel.
What is it right now?
Oh,
yeah.
What is it right now?
It could just be.
It might be Overinspected episode 1.
Algorithmic. Sometimes.
Oh, I think it might be Overinspected episode 1.
It might be Overinspected episode 1.
I think I said it.
That makes a lot of sense, Carrie.
Yeah, but I've done that on channels for videos that I thought this needs more views, and it will.
Oh, really?
Have
it
a noticeable uptick. Yeah, because a lot of people will kind of just have it play in the background as they're browsing your channel.
True.
Okay. Well.
I mean, since you're listening to this podcast, you've probably already seen the stream, or maybe if you haven't, you can let us know in the comments how you feel about the live stream. We paid a lot of attention to the details. We really wanted to, provide the best experience possible.
Yeah, and it'll be new for us because we're doing it on. We did it on YouTube. We're going to do it on YouTube. But by the time this come out, we did it on YouTube, I guess, as opposed to doing it on Twitch. So we're interested to hear about your thoughts on that as well.
Oh, I mean, if you guys are curious why we're doing YouTube as opposed to Twitch, I think it's not the only one. One of the biggest things about Twitch that makes it unique is this chat.
Yeah. And
I just think the community around competition streams and maybe even podcast streams, I don't think it's quite there. Yeah. Well, podcast streams, you could argue.
I mean, think about it, right? Who shows up? Who's gonna watch a cubing live stream? Probably going to be parents.
Are they gonna keck W?
They're not gonna react.
You really think the parents are gonna watch the live stream to see their kid?
Yeah, it's hey, I took my kid to this competition. Why don't I send it to his grandmother?
Oh,
yeah, they're just gonna be like people happy.
I'll just send it to his friends.
Yeah.
Right? And they can watch the kids, they can watch all the fast people.
And do you think YouTube is a friendlier place for the parents than
Oh,
Twitch?
for sure.
I think it's easier. I think it's easier for older people to understand YouTube.
Yeah.
Because
YouTube.
it's just like I can just go there and it's just there, and you can put it up on your TV and stuff, which makes it really easy. Whereas like Twitch is like much harder.
I will also say that Twitch has this issue where they always play a 30-second ad.
Right.
Before you can even see what the stream is.
Unskippable ads.
Unskippable, yeah.
Unskippable. Twitch, honestly, Pokimane made a really good point about Twitch. Picture-in-picture ads.
Picture-in-picture?
Yeah,
or banners.
Yeah.
Because YouTube does this. Like YouTube will put if you have it on like the mini view, which I don't really do, but if you put it on like not the mini view, the normal view, then you have the ad, and then you have like all the other recommended videos.
Mm-hmm.
They can easily do that. They could put that right above your follow, right, and just do that way. But I mean, they need to figure it out.
I mean, it also makes sense for us since we're doing so many different things, and we do a lot of it on YouTube as pre-recorded content. It makes sense for us to keep our community homogenous. Is that the right term?
Yeah.
In the same space. It just makes sense.
In one, so like there's one place they look when they want to find all these different things.
Exactly.
Yeah. And like I said, like people are not going to interact with the chat during a live stream. Like during a competition live stream, people just won't, right? Because it just doesn't really make that much sense.
If someone gets a world record,
I mean, definitely.
It doesn't interact the same way. How about that?
Yeah.
Like just a way.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it.
Well, I think one thing that happens in the Twitch chat more often is that people will comment like over and over again to kind of like go back and forth with the creator.
Right. Yeah.
On YouTube.
And with each other.
Yeah, and with each other. That's another big one. But on YouTube, at least like me as a viewer, I'll only like comment once, and then if I don't get noticed, then I will probably just stick to watching. And
Yeah. I noticed this when I was Aaron was having his recital. This was like I think 2 weeks ago at this point, and like people like in the chat, right? It was me and Isaac. Like we were kind of talking to each other in the chat, but everyone else was like not talking to us or like trying to get involved at all. Everyone was just like, they were just like talking to themselves or into the void, basically.
I mean, it's because of the people that are behind the computer, right? Like 100%.
I don't know.
Do you think so?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just like the way that. I think it's the way that was set up. Also, it was not supposed to be back and forth, right? It was not supposed to be that like. That I type a message and then Aaron or someone sees that message and responds to that. Yeah. It just was not set up in that way. So
it's like a different dynamic.
So it feels like you're just shouting into the void, and it's just like like if someone sees it, or like just throw something into the void that doesn't need to be responded to. Like great job, you're so cool or something like that.
True.
Yeah. I don't know. And I think that makes that model makes more sense for competition live stream, because most of the time you just want to say like, wow, that was amazing, or that's a world record, or like very rarely do you want to like have any interaction at all. I think it's very rare. The only thing I can think of is like, oh, like was that a world record, and then someone in the chat tells you either yes or no.
I mean, obviously the competitors are not going to be watching the stream because
that's also
focused on competing.
That's also true.
Yeah, so it's like you're kind of an audience in the stands.
Yeah.
And the information is only coming one way.
Right. Yeah, I guess in that case, it's very similar to the way other sports are broadcast, because you're not talking to any of the competitors. You're not talking to anybody, first of all. But like, even if you were going to talk to someone, you're not even going to talk to the casters. You're going to be talking to the prod, which is, then those guys are like behind the scenes.
Prod.
Those guys are like
production.
those guys are like not even, they might not even be on site. They might be like in their headquarters in like New York or something. Yeah. And so like, you're going to talk to them. Like, even if you could talk to them, what are you going to, like, they can't tell you anything.
Yeah.
If you guys are here right now listening, you guys are the real OGs while we're figuring all of this out, at the end of the day. You guys are the real OGs. Like, I've mentioned this so many times. I have so many ambitions, but like, the next step for cubing is exposure, is broadcast, is that next setting. Otherwise, it's just baby steps, and I'm all here for the baby steps, delegating competitions, going to more places, stuff like that. But really, we gotta get our community noticed, right? So this is something that, I mean,
get on the news.
Yeah, get on the news.
J per million, is that the name?
Yeah.
Hashtag J per million. Holy crap!
Actually, I think it's good that Ting Man like launched that whole. He's at 500,000 too. But it's good that like the Cubers are big enough that they will hype each other up.
Yeah.
Because I think 10 years ago everyone was out on their own, sort of.
Right. Yeah.
But like, and Tingman started the hashtag J per million.
Okay.
Ooh,
I didn't know
this
that.
This is a
Cool.
good test. We should ask Team Man. Hey, did you actually listen this far down this specific episode?
Oh no, I don't like testing the viewers because then it makes them feel like they're watching an obligation.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
We want them to be here because
man.
they want to be here.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
True. I mean,
Yeah.
like, I like having podcasts just to like put in the background and just like sleep
let's do
to.
that.
Yeah.
I don't think we're here.
I-
We're very paranoid.
You ruined the
Time
audio.
to timeout chair.
Yeah.
I
Time to go
yeah.
to the timeout.
Obviously, our podcast was 100% perfect before that.
It's okay.
Yeah.
No, usually I think like it might not even show up because remember like the other time.
Yeah.
No, the thing is, like, even if it was perfect, that's the imperfection that gives it the
Yeah.
true quality.
Want to hear some beauty?
Why is he just kicked the computer?
No, that was the lightest kick ever.
That'd be funny.
And if they did hear it was beauty.
I guess if they did hear it and didn't hear it, it was both beautiful.
That's
Yeah.
interesting how we talked about beauty and imperfection, and then I don't really think we talked about how asymmetry is beauty. We did the same symmetry is beauty.
Well, I was also saying when you said is symmetry beauty, I was going from more physics perspective, and how like
No.
symmetries in physics are very gorgeous, very beautiful.
I think
What is that? Isn't there like a specific famous fractal pattern? Or
Mandelbrot.
something?
Mandelbrot
set.
set probably.
Yeah, I guess so.
well, I mean, it has symmetry everywhere.
Yeah, it has loads
Like
of symmetries.
Very
little
beautiful.
versions of itself are like within
Yeah.
itself.
Very
yeah,
beautiful.
I think if it's like completely chaotic, there's just no pattern to latch onto.
Yeah, I mean there are things that like there are like functions that are like chaotic that like they like never repeat.
Never repeat.
Sorry, they're-
Penrose tiling. That's one of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a Penrose tiling, or like there are like other like functions like f of x and stuff that are like completely discontinuous at every single point,
Oh,
which is just like
yeah. Well, isn't
like I don't know, pretty wild.
I remember hearing about like f of x where it equals like 1 if it's a rational input and 0 if it's irrational,
Okay.
and that's like a very
Yeah.
basic way to make a completely discontinuous function.
That actually makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
I have a proposal.
Yeah.
I feel like the podcast has gone long enough, and our
Okay.
hardware is going to die on us. What do you
Bye.
think?
Oh, again.
I mean, it could.
Yeah, I mean it's possible. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think we should call it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're here, we could talk for hours. I think, which is good. I think it's a
Yeah.
good thing that we can talk for hours, but we should save that for the next episode.
Next time.
I mean, we're still going to do, over, like, not in person. We'll do virtual podcasts.
Well, we'll do it from time to
Because
time.
logistically speaking, I don't think this is possible to, like, continuously repeat. Do you?
Yeah.
I mean, we could.
Well, if we do them in bundles,
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, if we record like 3 at a time.
we gotta make content smart.
wake up at 6 a.m., record 1 hour, a
Oh.
new episode
my
until like
goodness.
10 p.m.
Change
You get.
clothes.
Oh, yes.
Every
Change
single
clothes.
people.
Yeah, so that would the
Oh
viewers
my
don't
god.
know. So I'm pretty sure the viewers would probably know which episodes were recorded on the same day.
No,
Or if they wanted to know, I feel like they could figure it
yeah,
out.
if they
I
wanted to,
feel
they
like
could figure it out.
CubersLive could definitely figure it out.
Oh,
Yeah.
Cuber
Yeah,
Stash.
Cuber
Figure
Stash.
out what day this was recorded.
I think it's not that hard, right? Because we're talking about like
Yeah,
Well, we talked about how the Berkeley comp was a week ago.
no,
No,
it was
a
many
month
weeks
ago, a month ago.
It was a month ago, and then we're talking about how like the live stream comp is gonna be next week. So
You could throw. Honestly, it could be a fun little game if you're listening this far down. You could throw a comment down below about what day you think.
What is today?
Yeah, what is today?
and not today as in your today, our today.
Our today.
Our today. Our
Wait,
today.
do I
in
even
the
know the
past
answer?
That already happened.
Do you know the answer? Oh,
Is
No, that's like
sa-
the least important. No,
sa-
no.
Wait,
Sa?
what day is it today?
It's
Uh,
definitely not sa.
Toi?
Twa?
What? I mean, we're letting them guess.
It's 30 seconds. It's 30 seconds.
Goodbye. We're ending the podcast
Okay,
now.
goodbye,
I'm cutting it
everyone.
off here.
So
Bye, everyone.
long.
Hope you enjoyed the first In Live podcast, and stay tuned for next week. I got a banger episode for you next week.
Wow, bangers coming.
Chaos.
Okay,
theory.
that sounds really dumb. Actually, you should not have said bangers.
Oh.
coming.
Why not?
I feel like people are gonna take that.
No, bangers are like arriving. Like it's like
You're
a
not saying this one.
train.
Yeah, I think
a
it's gonna.
train.